Hello and welcome to episode 128 of the Dash News podcast. I'm Mark Mason and I'm joined by my fellow co-host and amigo, Joel Valenzuela. Happy Friday, Joel.
Happy Friday.
Woo.
Okay.
And thanks again to Valtoro for the shirt.
Okay, yeah, so for the listeners out there listening to the audio, Joel was flexing the gun show there and showing off his Valtoro t-shirt with a explicit slogan on it.
Yes, which explicitly states it's not very fond of banks. And most people clarify, no, central banks are the real problem, not just all banks. In my particular case, since I don't have a bank account, I'm kind of more on the all banks part. So
excellent. And for today's episode 128, we have a special guest. I would like to welcome to the podcast, Zach Harvey, CEO of Lamassu. Welcome to the podcast, Zach.
Thanks, Mark and Joel. Happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Right, yeah. And you're one of the famous Lamassu brothers, right? You've got another brother as well.
I'm one of the two brothers. Yes, I haven't. Josh is not here, but he's not far away. And yeah, we're the co-founding brothers of Lamassu.
Wow. Well, shout out to Josh if he is watching. And you know Joel, right? You guys have got history a little bit.
Yeah, known back from the Shire. From New Hampshire, from the Free State Project.
Yeah, probably a good 6 years now or more.
Yeah, at least. It was 2012.
13.
So
I moved here at 13.
Oh, yeah? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I got there. Okay. So, yeah, 6 years.
Well, this actually, what a perfect segue to start, because I want to talk about the origin and the history of Lamassu for those that don't know. And I believe Lamassu started in New Hampshire itself, right? Correct?
That's correct. Started in 2013 in New Hampshire.
Well, tell us the story, man. What's the history? How did you get started? Where did the inspiration come from?
Well, the inspiration was just being involved in Bitcoin and the Free State Project, and it was everybody was talking about it, and I had my first chance to actually use it in a normal way in PorcFest. I think PorcFest. I don't know how many people know about PorcFest. But it's a terrific festival that's up in New Hampshire, in the mountains of New Hampshire every summer. Just a bunch of libertarians who go out there and have fun. And as early as 2012, at all of the little marketplaces for buying food or jewelry or whatever you would possibly need out there, they were already accepting Bitcoin. So you could have just used Bitcoin in 2012 for pretty much everything at PorcFest, at the festival. And that was amazing. And that was the kind of like the first mind-blowing experience. But then of course the question comes up, well, how do I get more Bitcoin? And that wasn't easy yet. And so we were just, my brother and I and a few other guys were just tinkering with ideas, and we were going to these different Student for Liberty conferences around the New England area. And just trying to introduce people to Bitcoin. We had these little Bitcoin postcards and just trying to tell people, hey guys, listen, conferences are great, but Bitcoin's the real deal. You have to start using this shit. And so for one of the conferences, we just built this wooden Bitcoin ATM. And we brought it to Washington, D.C. in early 2013, and people went crazy, started getting emails from investors. In a week, there was another conference in New Hampshire, the Liberty Forum, and there were more people getting excited about us, and they wrote about us in CNET. And so Josh and I just dropped everything else and decided, okay, let's just make these. And that's how it started. There weren't any Bitcoin ATMs at the time. We were the first ones to actually come up with a commercial idea for Bitcoin ATMs. And we found a designer in Portugal, just online, and flew to Portugal and started designing and making them. And that's the way it's been ever since.
So before we started the podcast, I'm glad you mentioned Portugal, because beforehand I was just like, oh, right, so you're based in Portugal, right? And you're like, well, no, that's where they're manufactured, but you got your headquarters actually in Switzerland now, right? So you moved from New Hampshire to the offices to Switzerland. Was there a reason for that? Was that like for legal regulations, or was that just a personal choice?
Yes. So from the beginning, our company, Lamassu was first incorporated in the British Virgin Islands. And then we happened to be in New Hampshire at the time, but the business was never headquartered in New Hampshire. And then we moved around the globe a bit. We moved to Bulgaria for a few years, and that's when our banking relationship got terminated because they found out we were doing Bitcoin. I mean, we weren't hiding it, but they just found out. And so for a year, we didn't have a bank account at all, which is kind of tough for a company that sells things. And we just managed to do it with Bitcoin and all kinds of hedging services online. And we were able to get a bank account in Switzerland. But for that, we had to move here and bring business here. So it started off with just being about a bank account, but also the stability here and the community here of Crypto Valley. And it's pretty impressive how, first of all, stable things are here with cryptocurrencies, and how much the government accepts it and talks about it as a legitimate thing. And in fact, just in the past few months, there have been 2 crypto banks to get banking licenses in Switzerland, which is mind-blowing when you think of it, because that's nowhere in the world is even close to that happening, where you can say, I want to offer crypto services, but also be a licensed bank. And so, yeah, and so very cool, and that's just some of the things that happen in Switzerland. But it's a really good place to be for this. That's what I would, for business, whatever you want to call it, currencies, blockchain. So I think it's a very good place for our business to be right now.
Okay, cool. Well, before you came on, I was talking earlier to an acquaintance of mine about the ATM business in general. And and Lamassu came up naturally, as you guys have been around for years. And it appears I'm outdated, because I remember talking to Neil at Porkfest in 2018. I actually did a video interview of him. And I was just like, yeah, I remember the Lamassu ATMs, because like you used to have one model, but it was like modular. You could upgrade it. So you took like a different approach to other manufacturers. But it seems like you've changed things recently, because I went to your website today and you've got loads of different models. So that's new, right? And when did that happen?
Well, yeah, that just really happened it started happening about a year ago. And that's when we released our first native two-way machines, which are the Sintra models. And so we did have before, we had our original model, and then people wanted two-way, and we just built a stand with a dispenser. And we knew that it was a temporary solution. It just took us a little longer than we thought to build a whole new model around it. But we eventually did, and we released the Sintras, and we have 2 models of the Sintra. One is a lighter version that doesn't have an internal vault, and the other one's called the Sintra Fort. And that's a big, heavy model with an internal steel vault and electronic lock and everything. And our most professional model. That's for operators that have 20 or 50 or 100 machines and need to have cash collection, and they need to make sure they're all secure. And so we did revamp our line. And at the same time, we said, well, we also want a model that's going to be a little bit on the, I guess, entry level. And one that people that, maybe don't want to spend $10,000 on a machine, but they can spend $4,000 on a machine. And so that's our new Gaia model, which is really, it's super light. I think it's about, 25 kilos, which would be about 55 pounds or so. And it's just a really sweet, colorful, fun little Bitcoin ATM that, you could even take it with you on an airplane. You can take it to conferences. We sell it with we have an option for a transport case. So you can literally put it in the transport case, walk around with it, go to conferences, or if you want to show people what Dash is all about, for example, then you can take your Gaia with Dash installed and just take it to different offices and show them how it works and have people buy it firsthand.
Yeah, take it to restaurants, if you got a Dash meetup or whatever, you just take it. Hey, here you go.
Exactly. Right. And that's something you can't do with the larger models. They're intended to be bolted into the ground, into concrete, and not move. So it's kind of 2 sides of what's basically the same machine. It's for buying Bitcoin. The only difference is the Gaia, you can't sell Bitcoin or other cryptocurrencies such as Dash. It's only meant for buying. It's meant to be wall mounted or transported, and it's kind of like light and fun versus the other ones that are intended for more permanent and professional use.
So can we talk about the security aspect, because
Mhm.
I'm not in the ATM game, but as you've been around for years, I'm expecting you've learned many lessons over the years and things have got better with
Yes.
time, right? So even from the basic model to the most expensive model, can you just break down the security aspect? Because there may be people watching this that may be interested in perhaps purchasing one and becoming an operator, but I don't understand the security side. So from a risk point of view, what should I be concerned of? And can you reassure me that it is safe and secure?
Right. So the first attack you have to be concerned about is the smash and grab attack. And that's when somebody comes in less than a minute or 30 seconds can somehow take the machine with them and leave. And if they do that and are able to throw it into a vehicle, then they have all the time they want to break into it afterwards. And so in the case of the Gaia, if you did not bolt it into some kind of either the wall or some form of counter, then somebody can just pick it up and take it and leave. And so the first point of security is make sure you bolt it down, right? Or that you're there with the machine if it's a conference or something. And then even if it's bolted into the wall, if somebody comes, with a crowbar or with heavy tools, it's a matter of how much time they have. And so our heavier models will do a lot better with, say, grinders and heavy instruments than the Gaia, which it's not intended for that really. But I mean, if you look at the advanced attacks they have on standard ATMs, they'll put gas into a machine and blow it up. So there's no ATM in the world that is attack resistant or attack proof. It's just a matter of how long you can delay and what attacks.
Does it have? You must have like alarms built in. Like, would I get notified as an operator if someone was tampering with it, for example?
That would depend on our machines right now. No, you would not.
Okay.
You would have to have an external safety camera. What we do have, the kind of protection we have is more mechanical. For example, for the Sintra Fort, we have an option for something called a plinth. And what a plinth is it's an additional steel structure with a chain that one side of it goes into the machine and the other one goes with 20-centimeter bolts into concrete. So even if you have a tractor, you're not going to get that machine out of there. You can vandalize it, you can damage the machine, but you're not going to get the cash. And so that's it. And there have been attacks, I think mostly in Canada, where they would drive into a grocery store or a gas station store, hook up the machine with chains to a vehicle and drive off with it and like rip it out of the floor. So the plinth might protect against that. But most of the attacks, the successful attacks, end up being because not all of the safety precautions were taken. So the machines weren't bolted in properly into the ground, for example.
Right. Okay. I was picturing like a food vending machine, like when I get hungry and I see those snacks, and then it doesn't come out, and then I get hangry, and I shake the machine, and then the alarm goes off, and I'm like, ah, and then I walk away.
Yeah.
But
just an example. It sounds like.
Yeah. But
right.
I'm guessing with the lower tier model, the Gaia, is that what you call it? The Gaia? Is that what it's called?
Gaia, yes.
You're saying that doesn't take cash; it's via card, right? So essentially,
no, all our machines are only cash, no card.
Only cash.
None of our machines take cards.
Okay.
Yes, it's cash in, it's not cash out. So you can't sell cryptocurrency and get fiat in return on the Gaia. So you can only purchase cryptocurrency with cash. But there's a big problem with credit cards, and we've gotten some requests, but they're just not compatible because credit cards are reversible transactions and cryptocurrencies aren't. And that's one thing that cryptocurrencies have in common with cash, that they're both irreversible.
Now, speaking of reversibility, I do remember, I believe it was even in Canada, there were some thefts from Bitcoin ATMs by double spending transactions, where they sent a transaction, it appeared to like show up, and then they took it back before it was confirmed and just made off with the cash. Have you guys had any issues with that?
Not on our machines, no, but it's possible. So we have a back end. As you can imagine, if you're going to operate Bitcoin ATMs or cryptocurrency ATMs, you need some kind of back end admin to manage it. And so if you go into the backend admin, you have an option for zero conf transactions, and you can decide exactly what you want the limit to be. So you can say, I don't want any zero conf transactions, or you could say, well, if it's under $100, then I'm willing to risk that. And you could also, if you wanted to, say limitless. Let's put in $100,000 there if somebody wants to do it, which I would not recommend because double spends are possible. I would also not recommend someone to double spend a Bitcoin ATM because you have to come to the machine. It's not the wisest attack because there's a very high chance of getting caught. And if it's a low amount, it's probably not worth it. And if it's a high amount, then there's a much better chance that law enforcement's going to look into it. And you have to come, this isn't an attack that you can carry out from a foreign country. This is an attack that you have to come to the machine to pick up the cash. So honestly, it's probably not wise to do that. And I think those guys ended up being caught in the end as well. I wouldn't advise a thief to do it, and I also would not advise a Bitcoin ATM operator to have their limit too high. So I think it's good at some points, if you want to say, hey, up to $500, I'll take the risk. And I think that's a fair risk to take. I don't think that a lot of operators have been hurt by that. And the positive side about it is it's immediate. You send your coins and you get that $100, $200 out immediately, which is what, I imagine a lot of people could use it instead of a bank ATM. And that would be the kind of amount that you're looking for.
Yeah. Now, is it possible to set that limit different for different coins?
Yeah, it is.
Interesting. Yeah, that definitely makes a lot of sense because every single Dash transaction is immediately locked via instant send and therefore not able to be double spent. So an operator who knows and trusts that would be able to just say, I'll take zero conf for any amount for Dash, but for other ones, I'll wait only very small amounts.
Yeah. So in our back end, you have full control over every individual machine and every individual cryptocurrency. So you can set a different fee for that cryptocurrency if you wanted to, and different zero conf applies to different cryptocurrencies and all kinds of other limits. So you can really fine tune every machine and every cryptocurrency to what makes most sense for you.
Do you know what the most popular cryptocurrencies are that are being purchased via your Lamassu ATMs? Or is that confidential because it's down to the operator? Do you have access to that data?
Okay, so I'll start with the last question. No, we don't have access to that data. We don't have access to any data on the machines that we sell because there's no central Lamassu server. I can give you an overview now of how our system works because it's not, different manufacturers have different business models. And what's unique about our business model is that you buy a machine from us and you buy it outright. You own it completely. Our software is completely open source. So we don't sell the software. We just make it and everybody gets it. Even if it's as much yours as it is somebody that bought the machine. You can go and put up a virtual machine on your computer and you have access to Lamassu software. So they have to install that on their own server. They have to start up their own server and that's where they host it. So we have no access to it. And so we have, the only information we get from operators is when they decide to share, which isn't very often, thankfully, which makes it a little harder for marketing, but makes it a lot better for privacy and a lot better for decentralization as well. But from talking to operators, I mean, as you can guess, Bitcoin is still king, even on even on ATMs. So I would say probably over 90% of the transactions are still Bitcoin. As the fees go up, that may change, but that's not currently the case. And then Ethereum and Bitcoin Cash are probably number 2, and then everything else trails behind. And so there aren't at this point, there's not a ton of action other than Bitcoin on cryptocurrency ATMs. In percentages, I should say. I don't know the absolute amounts.
I have to ask because you didn't mention say Dash anywhere in there, but like is Dash enabled by default in all Lamassu ATMs? Is it or do the operators have to switch that? There
is no default. There is no default. you get an empty back end, and you decide what cryptocurrencies you want to install, and Dash is one of them. We offer 6 cryptocurrencies. Dash is one of them, and the operator can set up his machines to be Dash only. We don't make any suggestions whatsoever. So there are that offer all 6 currencies, operators that only offer Bitcoin, and there are some operators that only offer Bitcoin Cash. And I don't know of any operators that have Dash only machines. And so I think a fair amount of our machines do have Dash. And I mean, from what I get a lot of our information, and anybody listening to this can check it for themselves. But there's a website called coinatmradar.com, and it is by far the best website for Bitcoin ATM information. And they've been doing a great job for years now. And you can go to their map, and you can choose Lamassu machines, and you can choose Dash. And it'll show you exactly who's offering Dash on our machines. And so there are probably about 200, 300 machines worldwide that offer Dash on Lamassu machines. So it's being offered by a lot, but I haven't heard that Dash has been, that there's been enough demand for it yet on our machines.
So let's do a real world scenario. Let's role play, right?
Okay.
So let's use your example. Let's say I'm a customer of yours and I want to buy 5 ATMs and I only want to enable Dash because I'm stay dashy and that's just what I want to do, right? So,
yes.
but I'm a complete noob. I'm a technophobe, and you got to help me set it up. So, like, I want to buy 5. Do you help assist people in any way in setting up a business? How would I go about setting this up? So I buy 5 Gaia models from you,
right?
How do I set this up in terms of infrastructure? Because I do that all from having just one VPS server. Like, talk to me like I'm an idiot. Take me step by step. How do I get this working?
Okay, so the first thing is that you can, even before you purchase the machines, you can install the server. You can go ahead and you can install the server and you get familiar with it. And if you don't want to lose money figuring out how to use the machines after you already have them, you can do that all before you even spend $1. And we have a very thorough knowledge base and tech support knowledge base, support.lamassu.is, that anybody can go to. And we have guides for everything. So you can go ahead and just go to that guide and set up your server. And once you have the server set up and the backend set up, you can go and enable Dash as the only cryptocurrency. And once you feel comfortable with that, you can buy 5 machines from us, have them shipped to you, and you could probably have them working the same day you get them.
Excellent. Do you provide any assistance or guidance? Because I imagine different countries have different regulations. How does the KYC work, for example, like in terms of limitations? Like, do you have KYC?
As far as regulation is concerned, if there's any information we happen to have of a given country, we'll share it with the disclaimer that this is not legal advice. But the second you start dealing with AML, KYC, and regulations, you better have a lawyer, and you better listen to what they say. And that's how it has to be. There's no way we could be familiar with the regulations everywhere in the world. Specifically in the US, we had been cooperating with the law firm for a year or so to help us build our system. So everything, it's especially on our new system that's coming out, a lot of it's based on what we discussed with the lawyers in the US, which I imagine will apply pretty much everywhere in the world. That being said, you have to know how to apply it. You have to know what to take, what kind of information to take from your customers, or how to spy on them properly. I would say it's the least fun part of operating a Bitcoin ATM, but depending on which country you're in, it's necessary to stay out of jail.
Yeah, it's definitely the least fun part about operating in general for any business is dealing with the government.
That's absolutely true. Yes. And it's also, I would say probably about 50% of our development is just about compliance and AML KYC. And it makes the user experience a lot worse. And I mean, even as far as they're concerned, it's not helping them. Like yeah.
So forgive me for being naive, but I think I noticed even in the entry level Gaia model that it's got a camera in it as well.
Yes.
But is there like an amount threshold? So like, for example, if I buy up to $100, I don't have to do KYC. But then after a certain amount, is that how it works? Or is it just purely up to the operator? They can enable
It's purely
it,
up to the operator. It's purely up to the operator. They don't have to. There's nothing about our system that makes you use the camera. The operator can disable the camera if they want to. But if they need the camera as part of their AML KYC, then they have the option to set a threshold at which it will ask to take a photo of the user.
Interesting.
And if the user doesn't want to and doesn't feel comfortable with that, then they could leave at that point.
Yeah, it's funny because I've seen different ATMs in different establishments, sometimes the public ones, and then sometimes I've seen some in private establishments, just like all bets are off, you know? And it's like, well, it's kind of on them if they do something.
Yes. You know, there are certain countries where I would say it's not worth the risk.
I'm in the UK. Is it worth the risk?
Probably not.
Why?
Well, with the UK, because
cups of tea, crumpets, scone. What, the Queen? What more do you want?
Well, less surveillance would be nice.
Yeah, that's true.
Right?
Yeah. Brexit would be nice.
On the bright side, you know that you don't have that much to lose for having your photo taken, because everywhere you go in London, your photo's taken anyway. So may as well just give up.
Well, I mean, yeah, it's the most surveilled city in the world. Yeah, there's lots of things going on. But
wait, wasn't there that YouTube in London of the guy who was hiding his face and the police forced his hand off?
Yes. Yeah. So, okay. So just a bit of background, the police started to put vans up with cameras. And of course, if you have warrants out for your arrest and stuff, they can scan your faces and all sorts. So if Joe hasn't paid that parking ticket, you know, they can pinch him on the street and collar him. So yeah, a bit totalitarian, and people are resisting. And they didn't really let people know that's what they were doing. So that's why there was kind of uproar about it when people became aware of it. And of course, if you do try to disguise your face, as I've got my hoodie on, then of course you look suspicious, and then you get collared anyway. So you can't win.
Right. No. So yeah, UK not the best as far as surveillance is concerned.
But I will say there are quite a lot of ATMs in the London area, but elsewhere in the UK, it's not as well distributed as the States. If I go to Coin Radar ATM, really well. It's amazing over, especially the last year, to see how fast that's grown, and it continues to every day. I follow their Twitter account, and I follow all the new locations. But so if I was to go out and do this business-wise, and with my Stay Dashy ATMs, make them Dashy blue, make them look beautiful, royal blue with the logos, Dash only, you would advise me to seek legal advice in terms of KYC, AML.
Yes.
Do you have any contacts or things like that? So if people do come to you, seriously interested in setting up a business, do you help provide any guidance with that, or do you just say, look, you need to do your own due diligence for your own specific country and seek independent advice?
Whatever we know, we try to help. So if there's anything we know, if we know the name of a lawyer that we think is all right, we'll give the operator the email of that lawyer. If there's any information we have that might be helpful, we give it, but we just don't always know the whole picture, and we don't want to give any misinformation. We don't want to send people in the wrong direction. So if you're going to have a network of cryptocurrency ATMs in the UK, I would definitely advise to seek legal counsel and discuss what the requirements are.
I'm just thinking, how much of a hassle is it to be an ATM operator? Because, I mean, I don't know how many notes the entry level model holds, but is it? And I guess it depends how much traffic and business you get ultimately. So it's a very difficult question to answer. But am I going to have to go there every week to each location to check? I guess that's the whole point of the operator, right? So
the only question that really matters is it profitable?
Yeah.
Because running any business is hard. It's difficult. There are things you have to do. You can't just stay at home all day and watch TV. So if you have a pizza parlor, it's going to be lots of hard work. And the only question is it going to be profitable? And the successful Bitcoin ATM operators are doing very well. And I think that the market is very far from being saturated. There just aren't enough entrepreneurs all around the country, in any given country, to operate them. And so you have these pockets of success, but you still have a lot of places that are completely void of Bitcoin ATMs, for the simple reason that we don't have enough entrepreneurs. And profitability has not been the problem so far. And the successful operators in the US will have anywhere from 20 to several hundred machines. And so once you get to those numbers of machines, you don't have to worry about how am I going to collect cash from this specific machine. You have a method, you figured out how to do it, you have cash collection agencies, and it's just kind of a streamlined, it's a streamlined business that works well. If your whole entire plan is to run one Bitcoin ATM and that's it, it's going to be more difficult for you to be profitable.
And a lot of it's location. Now you
Absolutely.
mentioned pizza,
yes.
and
right.
everyone that
exact thing.
knows I love frozen pizza. But from your experience, I mean, if I'm going to buy these 5 Stay Dashy Lamassu ATMs, what is the best location? Like, what advice would you give me? I mean, because I see a lot of them in like corner shops, or I could put them in the pub. But I guess I got to be aware of opening hours of the business, because obviously I'm going to have to speak to people if I want to put my ATM in their business. I don't know, like what for you, what do you think's the best solution, or is it really on a country by country basis?
I would say coffee shops and convenience stores, but convenience stores more than anything, because they're open. Some of them are even open 24/7, but they're open. They have long opening hours. They're accessible, and the owner doesn't care if you walk in and out. So if you were to say, hey, I want to put it in the bar, well, maybe the bar only opens at 5 or 7 p.m. So anybody that wants to go there during the day, it's closed. And then they walk in and everybody's kind of like, well, what are they doing? And they just walk to the machine, and it's a little awkward. Or sometimes you have to go downstairs. You want it to be as easy as possible for someone to walk in, walk out, no matter what their, if they have the type of personality where they like talking to people, or they have the type of personality where they don't want to talk to people at all. You want them to feel comfortable. And so I think in the early days of cryptocurrency ATMs, people were thinking, well, I'm going to put them in a place where people care about Bitcoin, or financial centers, or co-working spaces. I don't think those are the right places. I think you would want to put them in a place with high foot traffic and very easy access.
So in terms of the operator side, so I get my 5 Stay Dashy Lamassu ATMs. I get my VPS server. I'm paying like $20 a month or something. Can I just use that one install to operate my 5 Stay Dashy ATMs, or do I have to install 5 different versions of the?
No, just software? One server. Whether you have 1, 5, or 100 machines, you can use one server. Okay,
cool. And how easy is the interface to use? Because you said already that we can change the percentage rates, the confirmations, and it sounds highly customizable. But is it user friendly?
It is user friendly, and it's about to get super user friendly. So we have our new version coming out in a couple of months or so that we've been working on for about a year now, and it's completely redesigned for user experience and use as a user interface for the operator. And it's a beautiful interface, and it's very fun to use, and it gives you complete control of your machines, whether it's the rates or the fees or zero conf, or showing you a location or where you want to publish the locations, or whether you want to publish the locations of the machines, as well as all of your compliance as well. So it's something that we've been developing for a while now, and it's going to be very, very cool.
Well, that sounds really amazing, but I'm still not ultimately convinced on the 5 Stay Dashy Lamassu ATMs. There's a question I would like you to answer to reassure my concerns, right?
Let's go.
Because this is going to be a big venture for me. I've got to think long term, right? I've got to think about the future of this. This is a big business opportunity. I'm going to set up a company, do this. My Stay Dashy ATMs. So what
can you get them in royal blue?
In royal blue, and everyone knows I love the D. So I got to think in terms of like competition and things like this in the future. Like, what's the crypto space going to be like a year, 2 years down the line? Because potentially, if I'm buying 5, it's a lot of lolly, it's a lot of D, essentially, a lot of paper, right? So I'm thinking, how do you see the competition with ATMs in the future for yourself? You've been in this space for years now. Do you see a point where some of these crypto debit cards might interfere, or we're seeing a lot of POS terminals now offer kind of like selling a crypto via the point of sale device? Do you still see it as a viable, feasible solution in a year or two? Is this a concern I should have? I mean, you must think about this on a daily basis.
Things around since the beginning. There are other options for buying cryptocurrency. You have exchanges. There are point of sale systems where you can go up to a kiosk, and there are all kinds of systems with either gift cards or printed out pieces of paper. But the bottom line is nothing matches the user experience of using a kiosk style or a Bitcoin ATM. And I think it's that convenience is why people still choose Bitcoin ATMs. In addition to, it depends exactly what your need is. But Bitcoin ATMs have been growing in popularity consistently since the beginning, and not the other way around. So I would say no, as long as people want to use cash and they want to get cryptocurrency, Bitcoin ATMs are going to be a very good way of doing that.
Okay.
And if fiat dies completely, then maybe Bitcoin ATMs won't be around.
Well, this is it. I'm saying in a dream situation. In a dream world, right? Just say something happened. The cryptocurrency market booms. And then we see Coinbase become essentially the cryptocurrency PayPal of the world, and backs going through the moon, and all the banks are like, oh, we've got to adapt because now we've got this mainstream adoption. What happens if the high street banks start selling, and you could be able to buy and sell cryptocurrency through the high street bank ATMs? Or can you see that future happening, or do you just think that's just so far away?
Do you mean, are we concerned that cash will still exist, but banks will also
because
cryptocurrencies?
They will adapt, right? They're money grabbing dinosaur bankers. Like, if their money's there and that's the way the market's moving, I'm sure that they'll try and adapt to survive. Well, at least some of them will. I'm sure some will leave it to the very last moment, but I think some will try to.
But even then, that you'll only be able to use those ATMs at the banks. So even today, you have bank ATMs and you have convenience store ATMs. And there are way more convenience store ATMs than bank ATMs. So if you have an account at the bank and you want to pull your so-called cryptocurrency from there, fine. It's hard for me to believe that the banks will just kind of send you hard cryptocurrencies from their bank. I mean, if they do, great, good for cryptocurrency. And at the end of the day, that's what I care about the most, is for cryptocurrencies to succeed. And I would be fine with not being able to sell Bitcoin ATM anymore if there's no cash in the world and people are only using cryptocurrencies. Of course, I wouldn't be so happy if there was no cash in the world and people didn't use cryptocurrencies.
But as you say, I think for that scenario to play out, there would have had to be like real mainstream adoption, and the market would be incredibly different to how it is today.
Well, there would be so much demand. If there still is cash, there's going to be way more demand than currently for our machines, and our machines can go places where bank machines can't necessarily go. So obviously, we'll adapt to whatever happens when cryptocurrencies get super mainstream and there still is cash around.
Yeah. So have you thought of, because the model of this isn't super unique, it's the process of having a machine contain a scarce item that you put something in and it dispenses.
Right.
Is there a thought of purposing? Obviously, the business model works as far as it works, right? But in case, for example, there was a more cashless future, have you ever thought about selling things other than, say, cash out of the machines? Or doing something else? Like, for example, the easy one is, of course, precious metals, as precious metal dispenser.
Right.
And another one could just be, other things. I don't know. What do you think about that?
Yeah, well, we thought about a precious, like a gold dispenser. It's a very cool idea. I don't think there's a lot of demand for it yet. And obviously, it wouldn't be able to be a two-way. You wouldn't be able to put gold into the machine and get cryptocurrency.
That would be hilarious. Get someone trying to shove an ingot in there and just, get some Dash out of that.
Yeah, right. But authenticating it would be the problem. And so it would basically just be a vending machine with little capsules with gold in them, with gold coins. And it's a cute idea, but there would have to be enough demand for something like that. And then other than precious metals, I don't really think that there's that much more that we'd be interested in doing.
Do you only accept dirty fiat paper money for your ATMs, or can I buy your ATMs with Dash?
With Dash? Well,
Yeah.
Okay. So currently it's only with Bitcoin or dirty fiat.
No, yeah, but what if I wanted to buy 5 Stay Dashy Lamassu ATMs? Would you accept Dash?
Yeah.
We work something out?
We'd work something out.
Yeah.
We'd work something out.
Hey.
Well, look. So
we're open-minded. We're open-minded.
So for the 5 Stay Dashy Lamassu ATMs, we're doing good so far. You know, you're selling me. So the operator side seems pretty good. I think I can handle that. It seems user-friendly. You kind of covered the security angle for me. You kind of reassured me about the future in terms of the investment, in terms of like 1 or 2 years looking out anyway for outlook. But here's the next question, right?
Okay.
So let's say I'm serious. I'm about to pull the trigger. I'm about to drop some Dash with some ATMs. And I'm like, hang on. Lamassu aren't the only people in the game. There are other ATM manufacturers as well. So you've got to sell me now. So why would I get Lamassu ATMs over, say, for example, General Bytes? What's your secret sauce? What do you feel that you offer different? Like, sell it to me. This is your opportunity.
Okay. Great. Terrific. Well, I would say that there are 3 main points. And the first of them, not necessarily the most important, but maybe the most important to us, is design. And that's that we put a lot of design into the machines to look sexy and sleek. So they're very inviting for people, because cryptocurrencies can be scary. And you want people to get a very good vibe when going up to it and feeling there's something friendly there. And so our machines are very inviting, and our competitors have not put a lot of thought into design. That's the first thing. Second thing is our software is all open source. That means if first of all, you can audit it yourself if you want to. Second of all, you can make any changes you'd like to it without asking for our permission. If there's something that's very important for you to put in there, you could just go ahead and do it. And with the other manufacturers, it would either never happen, or maybe if you bought 200 machines, you'd be able to pressure them into doing something. And the third is that we have 0 fees. So you buy our machines outright, and all the money you make from the machine is all yours. We have no idea how much money you're even making. So you have privacy as well. And that's something that can't be said about the competitors. They all take some kind of cut of your profits in addition to the price you're paying for the machine. So they subsidize part of the cost of the machines, and then you pay as long as you profit. And with us, you buy the machine outright, and it's all yours.
And I think it's an important point to make, that you're actually very competitively priced as well, right? Because
So in the past, not as much, especially when we had our modular 2-way. It was expensive compared to our competitors. And so there were a few good years that we lost out on sales because of that. But with our new models, and especially we've even just made them a little bit cheaper, and then we're going to update our website in the coming days. But our Sintra 2-way, the lighter version, is 6,700 euros, which is one of the cheapest for a 2-way. And it's by far the sexiest and the best UI, the easiest user interface. We've actually had operators tell us that run both machines, our machines and competitors. And they've said that they've noticed that users prefer to use our machines, even if the fees are a little higher, because of the user interface, because it's so friendly and easy to use.
Yeah.
So that's the design isn't only the hardware side. We put a lot of thought into the user interface and the design of that as well, and to every single stage and what we can cut out and how to, or what we add to make it more obvious to the user. And we don't just like slap things on because they have to be there.
Interesting. So what is the future of crypto ATMs? Do you think we've peaked? Because it seems like what you're just saying there, a lot of it is about the actual user experience using it, you know, the touchscreen and the interface, and just making it feel inviting. But like, have we peaked yet, or do you think there's still further to go here?
Oh, nowhere near. So I would say that the place that is most advanced in the world as far as Bitcoin ATMs is North America, which is the US and Canada. And they have, you know, like in Toronto, maybe you'll have like 50 machines probably more, just in Toronto. But then you have places like France where there are almost no machines. Germany, there are hardly any machines. And then, you know,
I
start
went to
looking
one
at
of the very few ones in Germany, though. So
yeah. Well, okay.
very few.
that kind of proves the point. And there are a lot of places throughout Europe and definitely the rest of the world where there are hardly any Bitcoin ATMs. South America, hardly any. And so the places that need it most don't have Bitcoin ATMs yet. And of course, the question is, well, why not? And there's honestly, there's no good reason. A lot of it just happens to be where they're entrepreneurs and if they understand the Bitcoin ATM market. And apologies for always calling it Bitcoin ATM. It's just what I'm used to calling them. They're cryptocurrencies. They handle Dash as well.
It's all right. No offense taken.
So there are huge opportunities for Bitcoin ATMs, and I don't think we're anywhere even close to saturation, even in the US. And the largest operators in the US that have hundreds of machines are expanding all of the time because they can't keep up with the demand. And so what I see as the future is just slowly more spots to light up in South America, in Asia, in Africa, hopefully as well, where entrepreneurs just they start with the big cities and they set them up, and people start buying cryptocurrencies, and then they start seeing that there's as much demand as they hoped and perhaps more. And then as cryptocurrencies get a little bit more mainstream, each time that's another step up, and they're going to get more use of those machines. I'll give you an example. First of all, I grew up, most of my life I spent in Jerusalem, in Israel. And one of the first machines we sold was to the Bitcoin embassy in Tel Aviv in 2014. And that was the only Bitcoin ATM in Israel until 2017. And when you had the bull market of 2017, you had points where there were 200, 300 people outside the Bitcoin embassy waiting on queue to use that one machine. And within the next 6 months afterwards, there are already about 20, 30 cryptocurrency ATMs in Israel. And so that's kind of how it works. It's not that, you know, there are no entrepreneurs. They just don't realize there's a market for it yet. And they need something to they either need to have enough of a vision to say, well, I know that this cryptocurrency thing is going to go crazy and I have to be prepared for the next bull market, or they have to see it with their own eyes and say, wow, there's a lot of demand for this thing. I want to be the guy that has the queue with, you know, 100, 200, 300 people next time.
So you get me excited, right? But I just want to reality check, because there may be people here contemplating buying ATMs and they're very intrigued by our conversation. Explain to me what a typical day would be like for an ATM operator. I'm kind of picturing, if I'm at home, I would be looking at the VPS or looking at the operator interface, and I would be seeing how much traffic I'm getting in business, maybe reviewing the percentages, the fees on each coin. If I'm not getting any traction, maybe lower them a little bit. Or if I'm getting loads of action, maybe I want to put it up. Is there anything more to it than that? I mean, how difficult is it? It kind of sounds a bit like a turnkey operation, but there must be more to it.
It's not a turnkey operation. I mean, the machine itself is easy enough to turn on and to set up, but that's just one part of the business. And you have all the business sides of the business as well, right? You're still going to need to do some kind of accounting. You're still going to need to count the cash and make sure everything looks right to you. So it's still going to be a business, and it's going to be pretty much as hard whether you have one machine or 20 machines, though you'd profit a lot more with 20 machines. So there's going to be a bit of a learning curve to figure out exactly how you do the cash collection. Is the location the right location, or should I move it? And then that's when you have advantages if you have, say, 2, 3, or 5 machines where you can pick what you believe to be the best 5 locations. And then if you see that one of them is doing very poorly and one of them is doing amazingly, that maybe it's time to move the one that's doing poorly to a location that's more like the one that's doing amazing. And so you're going to have all of the business calculations you'd have in any business. There's nothing that automatically makes this a super easy business. I'm not trying to sell it as an easy business. I'm saying it has a lot of potential to be a profitable business, and that we make the best machines out there.
I appreciate your candidcy and honesty in that. And talking about locations, we actually had someone in the chat mention about locations and spaces, saying, what's the best approach? You negotiate to pay for the space or commission? And so what would you recommend me to do with the 5 Stay Dashy Lamassu ATMs? How would I approach that coffee shop you suggested, or that thing? Like what
He's already sunk all his savings into this investment of business, and he's going to go completely bankrupt. He's going to go to eating 10-cent ramen rather than frozen pizzas pretty soon if he doesn't figure out this business idea. So help him out. How does he get the space figured out?
Do I flash a bit of angle, or do I offer them a bit of commission, or do I offer just to pay them a
Okay, so what you're saying is you have some locations in mind. How do you approach them? How do you seduce them to accept your machine?
Yeah.
Well, money's a great way of doing it. I think maybe even more so than flashing skin. Though I can't say for sure. Whatever works. But you go and you start and you say, well, listen, I'm going to put a machine here. I'm going to offer you either a percentage or a flat fee, depending on maybe what they want. Maybe they don't want to have anything to do with it. They just want a flat fee. And you see what they do with their other. Maybe they have a traditional ATM there, and see how what if they're getting a percentage or a flat fee. So you're either going to want to pay some kind of rent or share profits with them. And then what do they get out of that besides the rent? Well, if your machine's very popular, people might come in and buy snacks as well. But that's where you start from. And then you see how that goes, and you try it on the other ones. There's no magic formula or recipe, at least that I know of. It might be helpful to talk to it. So another thing I should make clear is that Lamassu doesn't operate any Bitcoin ATMs. We only manufacture them and develop the software.
Not even
so it could be helpful.
You don't personally run it yourself?
No.
Is that because it's a conflict of interest, or was there a reason?
Well, not really. The reason is because it's an entirely different and separate business, and we'd have to get into it.
And you just don't have the time. And you're too busy.
We don't know. We're too busy manufacturing machines and developing software in order to start running a network. And it wouldn't be worth it for us to do all of that for one machine. It would only be worth it for us if we were going to run at least 5, but probably dozens. And then maybe it would, but again, like if we're going to get into that at this point, it's going to take away from our manufacturing business, and we don't want to do that. So we don't actually operate any of the machines, so we don't have as much information and experience as someone who, say, is operating 5 or 200 machines.
Yeah.
This might
this is information that we get from them. It would be a good podcast for you guys to bring someone on. In fact, maybe the guys from Instacoin in Canada, they have a bunch of machines and they're all running Dash.
Trials and tribulations of running a...
You could ask them, how many guys are buying Dash?
Well, it seems like quite a good sell pitch, really, because obviously we know money talks, but obviously businesses want business. And you mentioned Coin Radar. Is it Coin ATM Radar?
Yes, coinatmradar.com.
Yeah, so essentially you're like, we're going to be bringing more foot traffic into your business, plus we're going to be advertising this on multiple websites and bringing you extra business and foot traffic in here as well. So, and obviously with the money angle as well, obviously you want to make sure that they've got, Wi-Fi and stuff as well, right? Because otherwise you're going to be a bit rubber duck in the beginning.
I mean, you could bring in your own 3G hotspot.
Do people do that? Do people do that? Do you know?
Yeah. I mean, I would advise it, because do you really want to use the Wi-Fi connection to be reliant on it?
Do you know
because
what?
If it goes down, then your operation goes down. Right. So if you want maximum stability, the best thing to do is to get a cable connection. If the owner of the place isn't too excited about that, or you think it's too expensive, then I would get a 3G hotspot. But better to be responsible for your own internet connection, because if the internet goes down, you lose money. And you don't want, and not only do you lose money, you also lose the perception of reliability of your machines and your locations. And if you're an operator with a lot of them and your machines constantly go down, people will be hesitant to use them. So you want to have a reputation of being up all of the time. And that is worth a dedicated internet connection.
Interesting. So what is the future of Lamassu? Is Lamassu all about ATMs? I mean, I know you mentioned Bitcoin ATMs. I mean, of course, Dash wouldn't be here without Bitcoin. We're all grateful for Bitcoin paving the way forward. But Lamassu, let's talk about Lamassu. Do you have a roadmap? Are you just sticking to the ATM game, or are you going to switch things up in the future? Are you cooking something in the kitchen? What's going on at Lamassu?
Right now, it's only ATMs. We have ideas, but none of them have made it past the idea phase. And I think it's always a good idea to diversify what you're offering. But at this point in the game, I also think that focus is very important. And so anything else we put energy into right now will take away from making our machines or keeping our machines the absolute best. And there's so much more we can do. And we're not the best at absolutely everything yet. To be in every way possible. So that requires a tremendous amount of work and resources, and that's what we're focused on right now. We love other ideas, probably have to do with some form of hardware, but they're just ideas for now, and we'll see where that leads in the future.
Well, Zach, I think you've done a fantastic job there. Send it to me. It sounds like I need to take some time to do some research, looking into the UK, KYC, AML, and see what's cooking. But
yeah,
I've been playing 20 questions with you, putting you in the spotlight. So now I'll pass you over to Joel, because I know he's got a few interesting questions, privacy centric and other things.
You'll just have to send us your hoodie for color matching.
Yeah.
There's the branding guidelines on the Dash website too, that has the exact kind of Dash blue.
But I can skin it, brand it my own way. I can, you stand on.
The guy has already come in different colors, and it's fairly easy for us. We wouldn't do this for one machine, but it's fairly easy for us to customize the colors.
And if I put a skin on it, that's fine, right? You're actually encouraging that.
Yeah, you could definitely put a wrap or a skin on it. But if you wanted a specific color and ordered 5 machines, we might be able to powder coat it for you, and that'll. Because the problem with the skin is over time it gets damaged and starts peeling, and then it looks disgusting.
So if I buy with Dash, you're going to give me a discount, because you're saving all those payment processor fees from not using dinosaur bankster money.
Well, not really. No, we don't. We will give you a discount for buying 5 machines. We have a special price quote for 5. But I personally have always hated discounts of any sort. I always feel like there's something dishonest about it, because what you're doing is you're hiding the real price from the guys who just want to go ahead and buy your machine and don't want all the drama, and you're giving a special price to those who give you a hard time.
Yeah.
And that never seemed right or fair to me. So we put all of our prices are right there on our site. And in fact, you can go down to the buy part and you can see what happens if you want to buy 5 or 10 machines, and it will show the different pricing tiers. So we're extremely transparent about prices, but we don't do discounts.
And you ship everywhere?
Yes. Well, pretty much everywhere. There are a few countries where
apart from a few like Iran and a few other places, North Korea.
I mean,
just
honestly, I would love to send everywhere in the world. I don't have any issue with any individual, anywhere. But we try to stay away from countries that will get us into trouble. Let's just put it that way.
Understandable. Okay, Joel, Zip, all yours. I'm going to shut up now.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's a lot of people, old schoolers in Dash, and by old schooler I mean like a few years. Obviously, a cycle of the people have this connotation with Lamassu, because there was this proposal way back like 2016, or late 2015. I don't remember exactly when, to supposedly integrate into Lamassu ATMs. And I don't remember whatever happened to it. This is a little bit slightly before my time, so I don't remember the details of it. But essentially, the proposal owner never delivered, or didn't deliver, or took a long time. And then people came away with the idea that Lamassu scammed Dash because they promised integration in exchange for money, but didn't give it. And it seems like there's a lot of misconception around that. And so I don't know if you have any more insight on that, because I'm kind of clueless.
Yeah, well, to be honest, we weren't completely aware that was really happening at the time, and we had nothing to do with the proposal. we knew that someone was buying machines and putting their own Dash software on them. And that's where it ended. And that's, as I mentioned, our software has always been open source. So somebody could come up with their own cryptocurrency tomorrow, buy our machines and put it on there, and there would be nothing we could do to stop them, really. And at the time, we did not support Dash. We do now, but we didn't support it and didn't have any intention of supporting it. We were only doing Bitcoin.
When did that change?
Well, we had a software update a couple of years ago. And so right, and that we enabled 6 cryptocurrencies, and Dash was one of them. And so that what that means is that right now, anybody that buys a machine can put Dash on there. But before that, before we had that update, we didn't have any other cryptocurrencies, nor were we involved with this proposal in any way or offered anything in return, or we just sold our machines and that third party put the software on it. And as far as I know, they did have a few machines. I think it was in Panama or something, right? If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I believe so.
I think, I don't know. I didn't realize they missed deadlines or that sort of thing. We weren't involved with that. So yes, as far as the proposal is concerned, nothing to do with Lamassu. Sorry, guys, but we weren't involved in any way at any point.
Well, if you think about it, even though it ends up being a roundabout way anyway, Dash is available on Lamassu machines anyway. Mm-hmm. So basically got what we paid for, just in a very strange roundabout way with strange actors and a lot of like old school drama and things like that. So now the other thing, you're mentioning a lot about privacy and such. Mm-hmm. And I was in communication with another mutual buddy who works for you guys about trying to get Dash Private Send enabled on Lamassu machines. Do you want to touch on that a little bit more because a lot of people, this is something I've talked about to a couple individuals, but not really the Dashy public, as it were, is not very well versed in this.
Mm-hmm. Right. So first of all, obviously, we care about privacy and we want there to be privacy options on our machines, especially with all of the blockchain analysis that's happening right now, and what that does for cryptocurrency fungibility and such. And so when it came to it, it basically just came to our attention, and maybe we don't follow this as much as we should, but that you have a new version with private sends coming out and on the pruned version as well. So when your software comes out, all we have to do is update it on ours, and the private sends will be available. Now, exactly the details of that, of how that works, if it's automatic or if you have to do something, I guess we'll have to look into that into detail more about that than me. But the question, I guess, what's important for you to know is what will the user actually have to do and what mobile wallets support it? Because that's actually the hard part. The part, updating our software is a lot easier. We just updated the latest version of Dash. But then if the mobile wallets don't support it, then that's probably going to be the bottleneck. So maybe you can tell me a bit more about that.
Yeah. So last I heard, Dash Electrum, which, Dash version of Electrum, which also has a mobile wallet, was working towards integrating full private send by the end of the year. And of course, that was contingent on some funding that I believe they got, but there's been price. Obviously, the more you can pay, more developers you can pay, faster it goes. So hopefully by the end of the year, but we'll keep a close eye out on that. And definitely with version 0.14.1. Right now we're 0.14.0.3, I believe. Mm-hmm. So 0.14.1 will allow private send on pruned nodes on light mode. So that should be, and from my understanding, that should just make it all work out just great.
Yeah. Well, I would say for anybody that's working on these solutions, reach out to us, and if there's any way we can make it work, then terrific. And we can even do like a little demo once it is working and put it on the internet.
Yeah, very nice.
I thought of another question.
Oh, nice.
I'm seriously contemplating the 5 Stay Dashy Lamassu ATMs. But
all right, I expect to see an order by the end of the conversation.
I was thinking earlier on, you said they're so portable you could take them on a plane to an event, to a conference, so I can show Dash off to the world and make a bit of profit as well. Hopefully, fingers crossed.
Yes.
But so my question is it in the operator software itself where I set the currency? Because obviously I'm in the UK right now, so it'd be pounds. But if I jumped on a plane to see Joel at an event, people aren't going to have pounds, they're going to have dollars. So can I switch it up in the software? So, I mean, how does that work?
Okay, that's a very good question, actually. And the answer is it's not that simple, because what determines the currency of the machine is the bill validator. And the bill validator has firmware and that can handle one currency at a time, mostly. So what you would have to do is you would have to go direct. You'd have to take a Windows laptop and connect it to the bill validator, and then we could give you the firmware, but it wouldn't be as simple as just going to the back end and then changing it. I mean, you also have to change it on the back end as well, of course, because that's where it would show the different exchange rates, and you don't want to have an exchange rate of British pounds if you're using dollars.
Yeah, so you could.
So it's not impossible. It's not impossible, but it one extra step.
Yeah, it definitely does not seem like the kind of thing you'd be wanting to do if you just sort of travel to a few conferences and you're like, oh, I'm going to sell some in Madrid, I'm going to sell some in Zurich, I'm going to sell some.
Right, and I would say that if you want to make sure you stay out of trouble, then first of all, I don't think it's a great way to make lots of money, just to go to conferences. And I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but it's a great way to show off the machine and show off Dash and show people how to use it. And if you can make money of it, or maybe help pay for some of your expenses, cool. But I would say that you should make sure that whatever country you're in, that it would be okay for you to do that.
What I really like is, and I don't know the case with General Bytes, and I don't want to be rude and pushy to talk smack against a rival or a competitor, but my understanding from what you're saying is Lamassu takes no cuts whatsoever from whatever I sell on my Stay Dashy Lamassu ATMs.
Right.
Nothing. Nada. Zero.
We don't even know how much you make, so we wouldn't know what cut to take.
So where do you get your cryptocurrency prices from then? How do I know they're like up to date? And so you're pulling them from exchanges, obviously, right? But you're pulling them from multiple different sources, I imagine, or is it up to me to decide?
It's up to you. You pick. We have a few options. You go ahead and you pick, and then you can compare them.
Can you say some of the exchanges or that you utilize, or is you rather not? I did see.
Yeah, no, there's Bitstamp, there's BitPay,
like Kraken, Coinbase.
Kraken, yes, I believe Coinbase as well. Itbit, if I'm not mistaken. We're always adding more, but so we have several options that you can choose from, and it has nothing to do with us. It's just their API. We don't have there is no Lamassu price ticker.
You know, and the interesting thing is, I noticed on your website that you just as a recommendation, you recommend DigitalOcean in terms of a VPS. And of course, that will probably resonate quite well within the Dash masternode community, because those that do host masternodes are very familiar using VPS services anyway. So spinning up something would be pretty good. But as you're saying, you should do your due diligence. This is a proper business plan, and you have to dedicate time to it and everything else. So it's not just, it's not, so,
I will say that the way we do things, where every operator operates their own server, it does add a layer of complexity. So it would be easier for an operator if there was just a server hosted by Lamassu that they just connected to, because then they wouldn't have to set up the server. So it does add one layer of complexity, and we think it's worth the trade-off for both the fees and privacy. And privacy is super important, because as far as we're concerned, any data we have about any kind of cryptocurrency transaction is toxic waste. And we don't want to get anywhere near that. It's not something we want to have. It's not something we want to be responsible for. And so we believe that the trade-off is worth it, and we've always believed it, even though it adds a layer of complexity for the operator, and even though it takes away our ability to source lots of good marketing information and showing people, look how profitable these machines are. We have no access to that information, and that hurts us from a marketing perspective, because other manufacturers can do that. And yet we still think it's worth the trade-off because we believe so much in privacy and keeping this network decentralized. So you will have to do a little bit of extra work when setting up the server. We have great guides for setting up the server, and we plan to keep on making it easier and easier, and more kind of just go into the command line and paste this and you're all done. But setting up the server is a one-time thing. You can use it for however many machines you want, but it will probably take you a good few hours or a day or so.
Yeah. Well, I've got to ask you one question. I want to know about your development team, because I want to make sure this is future-proof. And one of the reasons I love Dash is that we have an amazing development team. Even in a downward bear market, we're sustainable. In fact, we're banging out releases and updates faster than ever before. How often do you update the software, patches, bugs? I mean, like, do you have like a solid development team? What's going on behind the curtain?
Well, yeah, we have the best development team we've had in a while, and we're moving a lot faster than we have in the past. And I would say just about every 2-3 months we have a new update, and we're getting better as well as letting operators know what the updates are and what they can look forward to. And so we just released our new UI. I don't know if you've seen it or not, but it's a huge improvement over our old, and it has a lot of new screens, and that was our last biggest update. And our next one is rehauling the admin backend, which is going to be absolutely beautiful, and we're almost finished with that. The design is complete, and we've made a lot of progress in development. So we're moving at a good pace now.
Does it show charts? I like charts. So like I get traffic and stuff. And,
you want to see the graphs?
Yeah, I want to see some graphs. I like it. I like data.
Graphs will be later, I would say early 2020. The first stage, there won't be tons of analytics. And the second stage, there will be tons of analytics. Because that is one of the things you're going to want to do as an operator is just have that graphs page open on the analytics, looking at all the machines, how well they're doing, see if somebody just, put in a transaction and how big. And that's part of the fun of it. So we recognize that, and we want pretty nice and statistic stream and everything. But the first stage of the backend admin is going to be a lot more functional.
So does the operating software help me in terms of accountancy? Is there that extra added value? I know there's a lot of point of sale solutions and now trying to go that extra mile and seeing what the enterprise solutions are doing. So, where pubs and restaurants would have to tally up petty cash at the end of the day, there are solutions that help make the tax and accounting even easier for them. Is that something you've contemplated or do already, or is this a future?
Well, you export all of the transactions in any way you need. So yes, absolutely. I mean, everything that happens on the machine is recorded on your server, of course, and then you can export that to a CSV or depending on what the file is, and then you have that for accounting purposes. Now, of course, accounting with Bitcoin is always going to be a little tricky, but that's no matter what you're doing, you're going to have that issue. But yes, you can export all of the transactions from all of the machines and all of the different cryptocurrencies and export it in a way where either yourself or your accountant can work with that. And also, none have to do with accounting. There are all kinds of logs and system admin things you can download and look at and store and kind of see what's going on with your machines, what's causing the most downtime sort of thing. So there's a ton of information in the back end. It's not only about configuring the machine, it's also about maintaining them as well.
There is something that makes me feel slightly uncomfortable though.
Okay.
Right. In the words of Spider-Man, with great power comes great responsibility, right? And earlier on was talking about KYC. I'm all about privacy. It's why I love Dash. I love fungibility, Dash digital cash.
Right.
But if people are doing KYC on my Stay Dashy Lamassu ATMs and they're taking their photo or their mugshot or showing me their passport or whatever is needed, is that then being recorded then on my server and saved and stored on there?
Yes.
Yeah, because that kind of that kind of scares me a little bit, because then I feel I've got other people's data, and that's a big responsibility.
It is. It should scare you.
Yeah.
But that's what the government is requiring you to spy on your users. That's what AML KYC is. And what they're telling you is if you don't do this, then we're going to either put you in jail or fine you or take away your machine. So it's the kind of calculation you have to make when you're saying, well, I want to offer this service of people so that they'll be able to get Dash. And will they be able to get Dash if I don't have this service? Well, maybe it'll be just difficult enough for them so they can't. So it's a hard decision, but it's, if you don't offer that service, they may not have a way of getting Dash at all. And then once they have Dash, they can use all the privacy they can to move it around, and hopefully they'll know what they're doing. And it's you that has the information, and if you do a good job of storing it, then hopefully it will never go any further beyond that. So it's not like you have to, as far as I know, there's no country that's demanding that every user's is passed on to the government. And the only thing that comes close to that is blockchain analysis, that it kind of gets funneled into this huge system where everybody gets tracked. Right. Yeah. So our systems do not have blockchain analysis on them, and it's not something we plan to integrate into our system. But things like taking a photo of the user if required, taking a photo of their ID if required, those are things that we just can't see machines without, because if an operator has to do that, then they have to do it, and otherwise they'll go to jail. It's like if they don't pay their taxes. Right? Nobody wants to pay the taxes, but then you have to figure out, well, what's the risk if I don't?
Do you speak to your operators, and like, do they give you feedback? Because I imagine, obviously, it varies by country, but just for example, and I'm just speculating because I don't actually know what the requirements are, but just say, for example, an ATM, if it was like over $100, you had to do KYC. That was the threshold. If it was me as a customer, I'd be doing $99 every single time. Just to get around it. Have you had any feedback from them about KYC? Is KYC putting off people from using the ATMs?
No, it isn't really. I mean, the demand is greater than ever. It's not putting users off, because it is still the easiest way to buy Bitcoins, especially if you're using cash, especially if you don't want to start. I mean, if you sign up to an exchange, you're going to have to do so much more AML KYC because the amounts are a lot higher, right? So if you're doing AML KYC for $100,000, there are going to be bigger requirements than if you're doing it for $400. And so at least on Bitcoin ATMs, you can say, well, I only want to use this for 400. And then we can say, oh, well, in that case, just give us your phone number, for example.
Yeah, what details do you actually ask for? Because people don't carry around their passports.
It depends on the operator, the jurisdiction, and the lawyer. There's no one answer. So it could be that, some places will say, well, from the first dollar, you have to do everything the machine enables. And some people, like, for instance, in Switzerland, the requirement is that up until 5,000 francs, you don't need any AML KYC. You just have to accept a paper wallet. Wow. And so for the Bitcoin ATMs in Switzerland, it's weird. It's the only place I know of that requires paper wallets. But what they're saying is, we need to know that the person at the machine is the one getting the cryptocurrency. And that's their hang up. And if you do that, if you're the one taking the piece of paper, you don't need KYC. As I stand now, according to my understanding, which may be flawed, but that is my understanding from top operators. So Switzerland is a good example of pretty good privacy. It's not the best user experience, in my opinion, to get a paper wallet, but it's very good privacy. And on the other hand, you could have places like the US, which some lawyers will tell you that from the very first dollar, you're going to have to collect all sorts of information. And so, and that might vary between state and state as well. So there is no one answer of, what can I do on a machine? It's completely up to the operator, their lawyer, and how they understand regulation and their interpretation of such.
That's interesting. And with the Switzerland thing, recently on the podcast, we had Fabio Bossi of Bitelo and of Lamian, Martin Albert, and they run the Bitcoin Embassy Switzerland, and they've got an ATM there. I don't know the make and model, but they were telling me like Germans cross the border just to use their ATM. They come together in like a bus. They all get off and get an queue to use it, and I'm just like, wow. But it just goes to show you.
One of the reasons is because you don't have Bitcoin ATMs in Germany, because in Germany you would need probably $1 to $2 million just to get it started, or euros, whatever, just to get it started, just for the capital requirements for starting a business because of their regulation. And if someone started a machine without that, no matter where in Germany, they'd find you and hunt you down. And that's just the way it works in Germany, right? In the US, they wouldn't come and hunt you down until years later when the FBI knocks on your door. And so there's very different ways of dealing with regulation between, say, Europe and the US. With US is kind of like, well, we're not going to stop you from doing anything, but if we decide that what you did was illegal, or if we were able to show that there was some kind of drug thing involved, then we're gonna hurt you real bad. And in Germany, it's like, we're not gonna let you do anything without this full license. So it's and then you also see, like in Germany, I think you're starting to see some operators now slowly in Germany. But I heard some pretty nasty stories about the latest operator in Germany, that they were able to get their license. So now they're going and snitching on everyone that they don't think is up to their standards of AML KYC, and they'll go to their machines, and
Snitches
report
get
them to their
people.
There's actually an operator in the US that does the same. They go to competitors' machines and then report them to the authorities, which I think is disgusting.
Yeah, man, that's not good for the movement, man.
They're not good libertarians. Because
I would have thought over time, regulations would become more, lax, because as we were saying earlier, the map on Coin ATM radar, it's just over the last year or two, it's just massive. I mean, we've got our own merchant directory, discover-dash.com, and shout out Albert if you're watching. He adds the ATMs on there and stuff as well. And we've now got the iOS app as well, the Android app. Go down to the store, Discover Dash, download that. Just wanted to plug that. And thank you to Really Bad Apps for making that as well. Thank you. But yeah, exactly. But I think it's going one way. Look, there's always going to be challenges and obstacles. But in terms of accessibility, it's getting bigger and bigger. Like, people are accessible.
Exactly.
Like, Joel, every conference you go to, blockchain related, there's always an ATM there, right? Of some sorts.
Yes.
And it just seems to be, and I guess if you've got like newcomers come into cryptocurrency and they're learning about it for the first time, they want to pull the trigger. One of the things I guess I would have to decide on is percentages and like where's the sweet spot. But I guess you just have to test the market to find
just pricing.
What
it's just pricing. It's the same in any business. You have to see who your competitors are. You have to see what your expenses are, and you have to find the balance. Can you be more competitive than the machines around you and still be profitable?
Yeah,
short term or long term, right? Maybe short term, you'd be willing to take a loss if you think that it would help you capture more of the market, which is fine for the consumers because they're getting cheaper prices. I think over time, transaction fees on Bitcoin ATMs, commissions will go down, but we need more competition. And I remember, I don't think this is still the case, but I remember several years ago in California, there were operators that were taking upwards of 15%. Not spread, each.
Yeah. I seen it, and
each way.
It actually put me off ATMs in general. I was in a city in the UK called Bristol. For those that remember, there was a proposal in the Dash community called Circus City. So I went to go and check that out. And there's an ATM in Bristol, and it was charging 12% fee, and I thought that was astronomical. And I said to someone, like, why are you using that? Why won't you just go to exchange? Like, I wouldn't do that. And he just said, I'm happy to eat that cost because I've got plans what I want to do with that Bitcoin. I won't say what he wanted to do, but like he was just saying, like, he doesn't want that footprint from the exchanges, everything else. He doesn't want to give away his information. So he was happy to eat that cost, and he was completely content with it. It didn't phase him at all. So there are people out there that are willing to do it.
But there's still other reasons for doing it. Like, for instance, if you get the cryptocurrency faster and the price goes up, that 12% may not matter so much. But yeah, I would say that I don't think that operators choosing to put a 12 or 15% fee on the machines are bad or greedy. They don't have a lot of competition and they want to expand fast. And if they're able to expand fast, they're able to offer more people a service that people think is very useful to them, and they're actually using the machines. So the operators that had those high fees were actually doing very well and expanded. And the ones that didn't take fees that were high enough ended up staying with a machine or two until they decided to give up. So they weren't helping anyone by having lower fees. You only help people if you have lower fees and can expand at the same time. And by say people, I mean as a whole. Obviously, if you're just buying it once, you want the low fee and then you don't care about anything. But if you want to be able to step out of your house and have lots of options, then it's only going to get that way by entrepreneurs taking as much as they can to expand. And so I don't think I think it's kind of a phase more than anything else. And so if you're going to put 5 machines in the UK, you're going to have to figure out what that balance is. And that balance is going to be the highest fee you can take that is still attractive to people, or the lowest that is still profitable. And those numbers probably won't be that far away.
So if someone was like really generally interested, I'm guessing on a serious note, it would be best to tip your toes in the water first, right? Dip your toes in the water and try one just before going 2 balls to the wall, right? But I mean, if people have serious like questions, are you okay for them to reach out to you and give you guidance?
Oh, like, of course. I mean, that's sales. We want inquiries. We want people to ask us about our machines. We have a tremendous amount of information. First of all, we have a very thorough, frequently asked questions on our website. So you can just go, and that would probably be the best place to start. But you don't have to. You can email us without reading the questions, and it just kind of depends on what you want to do. If you want to get the most information without having to talk to us, then I would say go to both our website, which is lamassu.is, or go to support.lamassu.is, and we have an expansive knowledge base with everything you'd want to know about how to operate a machine, and you can even get started without even giving us a penny. And if you're even more curious, you can go to our GitHub page as well, our Lamassu GitHub, and take a look at our code, and if you want, install it.
I'm really happy that you mentioned the support aspect, because that's really important. But anyway, I'm going to shut up now, because Joel, I noticed there's some questions in the live chat.
It is a good question though. So let me just answer that really quickly. There is a question of ongoing support, right? So you want to know if something goes wrong with your machine, if we're going to give you technical support. And that for us as a service. So it's basically our paid tech support. And it's pretty affordable. It comes to about, I would say, 40 euros a month per machine. And if you pay for it, then we will give you full support. And you don't have to pay for it if you think that you can do it all on your own. You still have the knowledge base. You're still going to get machine updates. So it's optional, but we do recommend it if you think you're going to have a little trouble running the machines.
But you have documentation, right? Beyond the FAQ.
The documentation is free. Yes, we have the support.lamassu.is. We have full documentation and guides, and in most cases that's enough. But if you want more hand-holding, or you don't want to have to look at it every time, or perhaps your problems are a little bit more unique, then we do recommend our optional support. We have an amazing support team.
What if I'm a difficult customer and I don't do the live support initially, and then a few months down the line I'm like, I don't have any more hair to pull out, and then I do the live support? Is that going to be cool? Is that going to be kosher?
Yeah, of course. I mean, so we do them in packages of 6 months and 12 months.
Excellent.
And that's because doing it month by month it's impossible for us to get started and stop and started and stop. And for billing, it's a pain in the ass. But all you would have to do is buy a support package for 6 months, and then we give you support. And then if you don't want it after those 6 months, then you don't have to buy it again. And then if you decide to do it again 6 months later, that's fine. You pay us, we'll give you support. If you don't pay us, we won't. There's no, no hard feelings. If we don't have to give you support, then we don't mind. Makes
sense, right? Free market rules.
Exactly.
Okay, well, I did put the URL in the live chat, lamassu.is, for those that are the audio listeners to the podcast. Joel, I'm really sorry. I've been cutting you off. I know you got questions, and I know Kodaks has been asking some questions in the live chat as well. So I'll pass it over to you now.
Yeah. We'll just make it real quick since it's getting close to time to wrap up. First up, so Kodaks, shout out to Kodaks, has a persistent question about what made you decide to expand? What made you decide to add Dash to the machines? Now, of course, you added quite a few, what was it, 6 extra coins in 2017. And so I'm sure it just has to do with like my guess is it's just part of the basket of new things. But first off, why did you decide to expand past BTC to begin with?
Okay, so first of all, timing of this decision is that the BTC fees were getting very high. And at the same time, Ethereum was also getting very popular. And I think this started around 2015 when we started thinking about it, maybe 2016. So really, we were just going to add Ethereum. But then Bitcoin Cash happened, and we realized that some people were going to want support for that as well. And so we just kind of said, well, we don't want to have all of the coins because that's too much work for both us and the operators. What are the coins that we think would make most sense for Bitcoin ATMs, and what are the ones that have been on our radar, and what are the ones that have, certain characteristics that we like? And well, Dash was on our radar for lots of reasons, including that we already had machines that were running them, even though we had nothing to do with it. But people came to expect it, and the Dash community seemed very excited about having Dash ATMs. So that's how Dash, I guess, in a sense, made the cut. And it's also, just as far as market cap, it is one of the larger coins. And then we're big fans of Zcash as well. So to be honest, we kind of put that in for ourselves. And then Litecoin was kind of obvious and always had some form of demand. And I'm probably missing something, but that's about it. So the main reason
Dogecoin?
We don't have Dogecoin, no. But I would say that things got kind of panicky at the end of 2017 when the Bitcoin fees were getting to $40, $50 because Bitcoin ATMs don't make any sense with those kinds of fees. There's just no market for it. And in fact, with fees at $2 to $10, it's already kind of, if you think of the average transaction on a Bitcoin ATM is going to be around $200. So a $2 fee doesn't make a lot of sense, and definitely not a $10 fee. And that makes it a lot harder for you to profit as an operator. So if that happens again with Bitcoin, there's just going to be a market response to that. And I don't know what it will be. But having these cryptocurrencies is a protection against.
Yeah, I noticed that with Coinbase back in late 2017, when Bitcoin hit the absolute horrific fee spike. I mean, it's all in my view. I mean, I stopped using it, and my last Bitcoin transaction was 2016. I stopped using it when it started getting around $1, and it started to become my last transaction also took 2 weeks to complete. Yeah. So at that point, so I don't know, but when it got really bad, when it got to the $10, $20 kind of range, I noticed that Litecoin's transaction volume spiked dramatically to about most of what Bitcoin's is today, because people were all trying to get in. They're all trying to buy it off Coinbase, and then they couldn't move Bitcoin anymore because it was too congested. So then it went to Ethereum, and there's a bunch of cats in there, so it couldn't move either. And so the next down the list was Litecoin. And it just, I can imagine the same thing happened with ATMs.
That's right. It's again, the bottom line is there are market responses. And I don't think a lot of people remember this, but the first time Ethereum's price started going up wasn't because of dApps or ICOs. It was because the Bitcoin fees were high, and that was number 2, and that was it. And at one point, once it reached popularity, the whole ICOs thing started. But the first response in price of Ethereum, and the first time it started eating a bit at Bitcoin's share, was because of the high fees. And so I would say, I'm sorry, guys, I'm still a huge Bitcoin fan, but I will say that if the fees go up, there's going to be a market response. People want to use cryptocurrency, will want to get their hands on it. and they're going to have to use one that they're going to have to choose a cryptocurrency that they can buy off the Bitcoin ATM.
Excellent. Is there anyone you want to give a shout out to at Lamassu? Yeah, we've got to give a shout out to your brother Josh, Neil as well. Shout out to Neil.
Yeah.
Well,
Long time, buddy.
And
Anyone
by the
else?
way,
crew.
I just got a message unrelated to this from a certain Derek J, who says, "I love Zach Harvey. Please tell me I think of him every time I see a Belgian beer."
All right. I love you too, Derek.
So New Hampshire misses you by the sounds of it.
I miss New Hampshire as well, especially this time of year.
Oh, you got to come back and visit.
Oh man, well, it's been a pleasure to have you on the podcast, Zach. It's nice to finally meet you. I mean, I've heard about the Harvey Bros before, but now now we're there. I look forward to meeting Josh as well at some point. But yeah, so thanks for coming on.
Well,
so
if you're in Switzerland,
might have to swing by, say hello, maybe play on some of the ATMs.
Yeah, we were just in just in Zurich. For
if you want to play in the ATMs, you'll have to go to Portugal.
Yeah.
We don't have any.
So Lamassu.is. On Twitter, you are at Lamassu BTC, correct?
Right, correct.
Is there any other social media that you want to plug, or is it Lamassu.is/support? Is it, or contact if people got questions?
Oh, inquiries at the American spelling of inquiries at Lamassu.is. Or sales at Lamassu.is. But you can just go to our website, and there's and all the information is there as well. And there's a contact page, and that has. We did something very simple actually, where we realized there's some people that don't feel like doing anything. So you could just go to our website or our contact page, just put your email in there, send, and we'll contact you and give you a little bit of information right off the bat, so you don't even have to write up a letter or a contact form.
Excellent. Well, thank you, Zach. Thank you for being a good sport and entertaining all my questions.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, it's been brilliant. Joel, would you like to take us out?
Yes, if you like what you watched right here, which you absolutely should, because this was a top guest, absolutely. You should like, comment, share, and subscribe on this video. And don't forget that we have audio only for those of you who like to listen at the gym or wherever. And that gets put out in the post on dashnews.org every Saturday. And now it's time for the little thing we call the after party, which is just like this, except less formal, not recorded, and way more people. And the way you get there is you get to the Dash Talk Discord, which is staydashy.com. Boom, link in the live chat. And you just start asking around, hey, I heard about this after party. Can I get an after party? And then you just get in. And a lot of times we'll just chat here about just whatever, whenever, people all over the world for hours and hours on end. So if you want to get in there, you know how to. Staydashy.com. Excellent. Stay Dashy. How can you forget it? Such a great name. Whoever came with that must be a genius. Anyway, so I actually really enjoyed this podcast for selfish reasons, but I really hope that you found it to be informative as well. As Joel said, if you did enjoy this video, please help us out. Press that like button, smash the dash, and don't forget to share and subscribe. And also as well, you can hit the notification bell if you want to be alerted about future video content. This was episode 128. I hope you all have a dash-tastic weekend. Stay positive, stay humble, but most importantly, stay dashy. Have a good weekend, everyone. Wow.